Okay, so what you see here is half of all the gray parts of the Unicorn Gundam, which pretty much covers the internal frame and of course some of the weaponry parts and of course the parts that goes onto the sled, so the shuttle sled. And this is one half of it. The other half, I have it in the other room. It's drying, and I painted this with metallic gray, which comes out pretty nice. For a perfect example, here's one right there. See? So that came out okay. This part is dried out, so I'm going to be removing it from their pieces. I was going completely bananas with the fact that I had to put some of these on toothpicks. They can't be put on regular alligator clips. And of course, whenever I try to paint, I don't want to paint all of them in one, each individual one. I want to like bypass on a few things, meaning assemble some of the parts together and then paint them. Like for this example, there are 3 parts here on this part, so I decided to put them all together and just paint them as one. No reason for me to paint them, all 3 of them, and then put them together. It would defeat the purpose. Another part is this one right here. And also, I have to be very careful with the placement of the alligator clip, not because I'm going to scratch up the part. That's not the issue. The issue is that I want to make sure that I paint areas where I know it's going to be exposed, and then just, even if I do paint areas that's going to be covered up, I'll use that area to be held with the actual clip itself. These are little tips and techniques for those of you who are interested in airbrushing. Techniques that I've discovered on my own. But this is a lot of parts, and of course the metallic gray comes out really nice. I'm glad that I discovered metallic gray, because it offsets the color if there are two different tones of gray. So I can use metallic gray on a lighter shade of gray, while I use the gunmetal for a darker shade of gray or charcoal. Which brings me up to these parts right here, which I'm in the midst of sanding down and then put them on the alligator clips when they finish drying. Some parts, of course, like with these parts, I had to pre-assemble because they don't really need to be assembled after they're, they don't need to be assembled after they're painted, like the Gatling cannons. Another example which I was surprised was the actual bazooka. Now, bear in mind, I remembered this bazooka when I made the high grade version last year, for those of you who remember last year. And I liked the bazooka, and I thought, oh wow, the bazooka was very limited in its type of capability as a kit. And I thought maybe when I get the master grade, I'll see a better version of this bazooka. Surprisingly, this bazooka is, the only cool features is that you can actually extend it out so it could be fired, have a long range attack, or prepared to be fired, and then you push it back in. And this clip thing can be removed, so that way you can put it behind the back skirts of the Unicorn. But I want to keep them on, and I was a bit disappointed with the fact that when I tried to put this on, this thing kept falling off. And I was saying, what the hell is this? This can't be right. Even though I do remember you can put it on and it's held on together on the high grade, this one is a little too loose. And considering that it's going to be on the actual frame support during its, I'm holding all my weapons look to it, I said, let me put this on, and since I'm never going to take it off, I glued it on. No fuss on that. Considering that all this was, this bazooka is completed. I haven't finished building the other part of the bazooka. So that's kind of cool. Which brings me up to another topic. What the hell is this? I was going through the manual trying to find out where does that go. I thought that was like an added part to it. But the manual does not state or explain to me where it goes. This is the entire section of the Bazooka build, with of course other side parts which will be assembled later on when they dry. But I don't see that other tube. Let me check the parts list. Okay, so this was a two-piece bazooka part that came from WB and whatever the number is. So that one's fine. I understand that. The other tube, oh, I see it. It dictates that it shouldn't be used. Oh, I see. So this was oh, I get it. This was a tube that was probably used from the previous bazooka build. But, alright, so now I understand. So, okay, correct. Slowly corrected. I didn't realize that there were some parts that you really didn't need to use. Like, I didn't realize you didn't have to use all those blue parts for the Magnum rifle. There are some parts here that you won't be using. But now then, since I've already removed everything from the tray, I'm going to have to figure out which one is which as I proceed to build this kit. I want to take a moment to show you what I did with the V-fins of the unicorn. As you can see, I put a little bit of the Mr. Masking Soul Neo on the back end, so that way I can paint the opposite end the color that I want. However, I'm going to give you a little bit of a surprise so I can show you what I did. Originally, I was going to paint it, and forgive me if I am looking for the paint bottle, which I can't seem to find. Here it is. I was going to paint it flat yellow, since it is yellow. Then, out of curiosity, I thought maybe I should do this. Give me a second. I was going to use the gold, which I've had in the can for quite some time, which I'm going to be using it for the Banshee. High-grade Banshee, that is, not the Master Grade. Not sold on the Master Grade yet, even though I already got it, I already got one. And then I forgot that I had this. Since it's only very little parts of the gold that I'm going to be using, might as well use what I have here. So, this is what came out. And I think it came out pretty good. I applied a little bit of paint on one of my trays, use my brush, and then just give it one pass. The thing is so thick that it'll apply it real fast, and the lining came out pretty well. I'm going to attempt, and I'm a bit nervous here. I'm going to attempt to do a little bit of panel lining, and I'm going to use that technique where you apply a little bit of black paint on a tray and then a little bit of lighter fluid, which I can't seem to find. Must have fell behind my my computer case, so I'll look at it. I'll pull it up. But there it is, and of course, using the Mr. Soul Neo, I can see if I can peel this off. A little bit came off on the paint, but that one I can fix. That one's easy. I'll use a toothpick to remove the excess, and then I'll give it a touch up with the painter's markers painter painter's marker, excuse me, to give it its color back. Yeah, so that came out really nice. So that is one of many parts that I've fortunately has completed. Another part that I have completed painting, of course, is the gunmetal for all the remaining parts, especially this part here. This came out really nice. Look at that. Which now I would like to try this. Take this part here, take the missile launcher, or the part that represents the missiles, and then we put it in like so. There you have it. That came out really nice. It's a good shine, a good texture. Came out perfect. The bazookas came out great. So that's already done. Some parts, which like this one here, I had to hold with the actual clips, but I folded down. And since gunmetal is such a nice paint to work with even with a brush, you can actually apply a little bit of a brush and you don't see any smear marks, anything like that. So this came out really nice. I really dig how this came out. I thought I was done because I had extra paint, so I didn't really worry about going, using it sparingly. But at the point where I was about to be done, and I said, okay, good, I'm gonna let it, I forgot that I had the Gatling cannons, which I also had to spray paint as well, each and every one of them. And again, the part here, maybe the image is not that, the video quality is not that very good looking at all this, but I used this part of the gun to hold it down. I mean the gun, excuse me, the clip to hold on this part of the gun, so that way I can paint it. And then again, I'll just brush it a bit so it looks okay. In which case I also had to flip this around so that way I can get exposure to the actual gun barrel, and I mean the actual hilt. I applied glue on it, but I feel a little bit of looseness, so obviously that's gonna bug me a bit, but I think that's no big deal. But this came out really nice. So after showing you all this, it is now time for me to assemble all the parts.